Hello, my name's John. This is a Warhammer 40,000 Discworld crossover video, and you're watching Wargames, Models, and Other Hobbies. Hello and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Discworld crossover video. Today I will be painting this Jokaero stand-in for the Librarian, as well as the scenic base that I made. Over this month I've been working on a few different videos, starting with conversions and then leading on to painting videos. This is the last painting video before the final video of this series. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off and paint all the base coat colours, come back and talk about what I've done. So I've now painted the base colours onto this model. Let me run through them briefly. On the base I did a coat of Dawn Stone. The books themselves, I have Calgar Blue, Orc Flesh, and on the red ones, Corn Red. And then on the satchel, I've got some Rhinox Hide. On the little corner just here, I've used some of the Stirland Mud. And then for the main body, I've used Kislev Flesh as a base coat for where the flesh is visible, and then I've used Wild Rider Red for a base coat for the fur. Now the next stage, I'm going to first concentrate on the fur, and I'm going to do a wash of Berserker Bloodshade, and then I'm going to go through the colours with some dry brushing. So a coat of Wild Rider Red, then some Troll Slayer Orange, and then bring out a few highlights with some of the Uriel Yellow. So I'm going to get started with the Berserker Bloodshade. Now I'm not worrying about a small brush for this, as I just want to get this all over the model just to pick out some of the lower details. I have ended up sticking the Jokaero onto the base, mainly because it was so fiddly to try and paint it. I thought it would be easier just to now stick it down once the base colours are done. Yes, I'm going to have to do quite a little bit of small brush work, but that's half the fun anyway. Now it doesn't matter at this stage if I end up going over details with this shade, as the base colours are just there to give me an idea of the blocks of colour that I want to paint. Okay. Right, there is that shade painted on. What I'm now going to do is let that dry and then do the coats of dry brushing. So we'll come back when I finish that. So there is the orange fur painted up. Just to recap that, it was a base coat of Wild Rider Red. I then gave it a wash of Berserker Bloodshade, then a dry brush of the Wild Rider Red, followed by Troll Slayer Orange, then Uriel Yellow, and then I also did a little bit of dry brushing around certain areas with some Squig Orange, just to get a little bit of depth. So the next step is painting up the skin. I'm going to start by adding to the base coat with Kislev Flesh, then I'm going to go over with Reekland Flesh Shade, and see what it looks like. So there is the skin of the Jokaero Librarian now done. You'll also notice that I've painted the eyes white, ready to sort out the pupils. So my next stage, I've got a few things to do. The metal work around the model I need to paint, so I'm probably going to do that next, and then I'm going to have to start working on the base. But it's starting to come together. I am liking the way that fur's all turned out. I've just got to get a few more of these other details sorted. So I'm going to get on and get some metallic paint to paint those up. And I think to keep along the lines of Windsrind, the staff was painted with Grey Knight steel, and I think I'm going to do the same thing with the metallics from the Jokaero Librarian, mainly because technically they both come from the same place, so they're magic items, kind of want to be quite similar. So I might paint some rings different colours, I'm not sure. I'll see what the back looks like once I've painted it with this metallic. It is going to be a nice contrast, I think, to the rest of the orange. We'll have a look. I do have to think about how I'm going to finish off the books on the base, how I want to either make them look worn or new, whatever. I haven't really thought about that yet. I do like how this Grey Knight steel is looking though. That is a nice contrast. I don't think I'm going to worry about all of the little details on it. I'll use some Nuln Oil, I think, just to pick those out when it's all dry. Yeah, I like how that's turned out. Okay, I'm going to get on with the rest of the bits of metalwork dotted around the Jokaero, and then we'll have a look at it when I've done. So I'm really happy with the way that Grey Knight steel contrasts the orange of the fur. I also, if I get it in focus, did the eyes. That's not quite wanting to go in focus there, but you can kind of see them. There we go. There's the eyes. So my next step, while that's drying, I think I'm going to work on the books. What I'm going to do is give them a wash with an appropriate shade colour that matches the books and the satchel themselves, and then when that shade dries, I'm going to give them a bit of a dry brush. So I'm going to get on with doing that, and then we'll come back and have a look at what it's looking like. So here we have it so far. As you can see, I've roughly painted the books out. I've also started patching in areas of a lighter grey where I needed to cover up paint. I am going to do a wash of Nuln Oil now over the base and also the Grey Knight steel sections of the Jokaero, just to get those details to kind of come out, so where the individual pages are, that kind of thing. Once I've done that, we'll have a look at what final details I'm going to put on, and we'll go from there. Okay, so there we have the wash of Nuln Oil. It's still drying on the books and paving slabs. The next step, I want to put some text into this book before I finish, as well as painting the rim of the base. But I want to start speckling the paving slabs with some paint, and I'm going to do that now, even though the Nuln Oil is still wet, because I don't mind if it mixes in a little bit. And what I want to do is just get a kind of like a little texture, a pattern in these paving slabs. And to do that, I'm using Dawnstone, and I'm just going to speckle it across the slabs. I'm not worrying too much about where I am putting these little speckles. I'm not worrying if it merges with any of the Nuln Oil. What I'm doing is just getting that little bit of a texture or just tonal changes within that stonework. This is something that I'll probably come back to and I'll tweak and adjust later on down the line. I might add a few more greys, not sure yet. But for now, I just want to get this base coat kind of put in place. Okay. A bit more Dawnstone on my palette. So there are a lot more details I could add to this model. The only ones I really want to get done is some lines to show text on the book, as I said. But really liking the way that this is turning out, not overly complicated, but just getting a nice finish to that base. I'm almost kind of, I'm looking at more of an illustrative, a drawn kind of finish. So it almost looks like it's out of the books or something like that. I'm happy with the way those slabs have come out. Okay, so what I want to do is get a really fine brush. There we go. I want some Abaddon black, and this is where I can either go completely wrong or it'll kind of work. So what I want to do is just put very careful lines across the page to kind of show what could be seen as text. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's do a few on this side. Need to make sure that I go up to the bookmark. Yeah, I'm happy with that for now. Okay. What I'm going to do now is paint the rim of this base, and we'll have a look at how this model's turned out. And there we have it. Here is the Jokaero Librarian for my Warhammer 40,000 Discworld crossover models. Not really a conversion, this one, but it was fun with the base, painting it up and everything like that. So there we have all the little details on the base. And let's have a look at him next to the other characters. So there's Winsrind, the Psyker, Tailflower, and without realising it, red and orange has become a theme on some of these models. There is the baggage, and my conversion, which I did off screen at the very beginning, that has gave me the inspiration for this whole theme, is the death of rats there. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this little painting video of this model. Stay tuned for the next video, which is the final one in the series. All I can say now is thank you so much for tuning in. My name's John, and you've been watching War Games, Models, and Other Hobbies.